How much will it cost to raise a pig to slaughter? So to calculate the exact cost of raising a pig from the piglet stage to slaughter, it involves accounting for various expenses throughout the pig's life cycle. So let us look at some of them. One is the initial cost, which is to purchase piglet. So you determine the cost of acquiring the piglet, including any transportation fees and commissions where possible. And the next consideration is the housing and equipment. Pig housing, for instance, you calculate the expenses for constructing or maintaining the pig housing, including the materials you will use, the labor involved, and the equipment such as the feeders and drinkers or waterers. And then there's also this bedding and flooring factors you need to consider. So include cost for bedding materials and the flooring, and the number of times to purchase bedding if applicable. And then the feeding cost is another component you also have to consider. So you track the cost of pig feed, which is a significant expense, about 70% of your entire cost. Include the cost for piglet starter feed, grower feed, and finisher feed. You will incur more cost when pigs are in the growing phase. The next is also to include, sometimes you need to also include supplements, which is by means of saying you need some minerals or additives to be added to the feed to give to your animals. Feeding equipment, for instance, you also need to allocate some budget for feeding equipment like the troughs or the automated feeding systems. And the next and the most important thing as well is health and veterinary cost. Vaccinations. So you calculate the cost of vaccinations and any necessary veterinary visit. For instance, there are some places a veterinarian charges 10 or 5 cedis per pig of vaccination. Okay, so you need to know that if you have 50 pigs and if you have like 50 pigs and the veterinary is taking 10 cedi per pig, you'll be able to calculate that and the number of times you have to call the veterinary to come. So you anticipate all these costs and then you put it as part of your cost to know the exact amount you will need to raise from the start to finish. You should also include the medications like dewormers, antibiotics, or other medications you will use in your farm. And also account for some supplies such as the syringes if you have to do it yourself, needles, and then disinfectants where you need them for biosecurity measures. And also, unless maybe you are taking care of the pigs yourself, and even with that you need to pay yourself, and by paying yourself you pay for your time and effort on the farm. So you consider the labor cost, which is to calculate including the wages or salaries for farm workers involved in pig care, and then the utilities and operating costs. If you have water flowing on the farm or electricity that you have connected, you estimate the electricity and then water cost associated with the pig farming. Include heating systems if you have them and they are also connected, the cooling, and then as well as the lighting. You have to take into account all this. And also the fuel. Maybe you have some machines on the farm where you use fuel all the day to run them. In that case, you need to also calculate how much you use each day. It is something you need to take very good care of. Okay, if you are starting out, you'll be tempted not to mind the cost, but it's very important to track your expenses right from the beginning as you begin your pig farming journey. And there are also miscellaneous costs you might not see unless you venture into it, such as transportation. So the cost of transporting your pigs to market, that is if you are not doing it on your farm, you need to know how much they charge per pig to take it from your farm to the market, and also the processing fee, as well as marketing and sales expenses. Account for all these. With the marketing and the sales expenses, you look at something like advertising or promotional cost. Unless maybe people already know that you exist and they have already started patronizing you, you need to advertise your product so that people get to know you and then come there to testify for themselves and maybe confirm and start becoming your customer from that day onwards. And there are some farms also, they consider these insurance packages. I'm not sure it's very common in my country here where farms are insured, but if you are in a place where you need to insure your farm, make sure you have to purchase an insurance premium for the farm so that in case of loss you get something out of it to keep you going. Sometimes to others take loan, or you might end up taking a loan to start your business or your farm. In this case, you need to also calculate the interest they will charge you on the amount you took from the loan from the financial institution or the lender. So if you have borrowed money for your farm, include interest payments, and if you are also required to pay some taxes and permits, you also have to factor all this inside your cost to know the exact amount you need to pay. There are some farms who they try to calculate some sort of depreciation on the housing and equipment. So if this applies to you, go ahead and know the depreciation rate for your equipment on the farm, including the housing. If it is 10%, you know that it's 10%, you calculate it. Maybe by the time your pigs are ready, your equipment or housing might have depreciated by this percentage. You know all this to know the exact amount you need, as well as you keep accurate records. So you maintain detailed records of all your expenses related to pig farming. Use accounting software or spreadsheet to organize and track your expenses. This you can also get in the template I included by using the link in the description below. So to calculate the entire cost, we just sum up all the expenses from the categories I have just mentioned with you, and then to determine the entire cost of raising from piglet to the slaughter stage. And then there's also cost per pig. So to know the cost per pig, that is a single pig, assuming you want to buy one piglet, you want to know how much it will cost you from the beginning to the finisher stage. You keep in mind that some costs, such as the infrastructure and equipment, they may be amortized or depreciated over several years, depending on the accounting practices and how you want to go about this. Accurate record keeping is crucial for also understanding your farm's financial performance and making informed decisions. Additionally, consider factors like market prices for pork, your farm's production efficiency, and external factors that can affect costs, such as the weather conditions. Regularly reviewing and updating your cost calculations can help you make adjustments and optimize your pig farming operations for profitability. With this said, we will see that it's not easy to come up with the exact amount, so you need to make some adjustments where possible, so you know how much you need to put into your business or have before you can run your farm successfully.